and welcome into Fantasy Football with Corey and Kyle as we're back for another game of Would You Rather. We're going to spin the wheel and pick some running backs. Player number one is going to be... That's sweet.
Big money.
Breece Hall. And player number two is going to be... Now, before we spin for player number two, I'd like to invite you over to fantasyfootballadvice.com, where you can get all of our articles, videos, and podcasts from our entire team and get that information you need to win your league. All right, Kyle, let's spin for player number two here and see who we got with Breece Hall.
Don't mess this up.
Oh, man, too late. Already spun.
No pressure.
Nope. Breece Hall. Breece Hall. All right, let's spin it again. Let's see who we got.
Breece Hall or Breece Hall?
I got a fixed wheel here. Let's see. We almost got it again. Bucky Irving.
Oh.
All right. Bucky Irving and Breece Hall tonight. All right. So let's start with player number one in Breece Hall. What do you think about Breece Hall this year? And we'll talk about both Redraft and Dynasty.
Yeah. I love Breece Hall. The dude's a beast, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Bit of a slow start last year, had everybody worried. But, still ended up having a pretty decent year. Still going to be, I think he was, where did he finish? 16th overall with a slow start. Like, that's still pretty solid.
And he missed the game in there.
And missed the game with an injury. I love Breece Hall. Them getting Justin Fields, I think, is going to help open up some run lanes when he's a threat, similar to the way you saw Jalen Hurts, I believe, helped out Saquon Barkley this year tremendously, having that threat. And so, I love me some Breece Hall. He's top 5 redraft and dynasty easy running back.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, he finished number 16 overall. He missed a game, and he had a few down games. The dude's just a beast, and he'll have a better quarterback this year. I mean, he did that with some pretty inconsistent play. Let's face it, Aaron Rodgers is just not Aaron Rodgers anymore. That offense just wasn't as good as we had all hoped it was going to be. But Breece Hall is a big part of that offense for sure. And, he actually gets a lot of targets as well. He's always been a receiving back, which is really nice. So that's big upside for him there. Like you said, he had a couple down games, but Justin Fields, to me, does elevate his game. And you said it perfectly, is exactly what I was thinking when you talk about the Barkley situation. Everyone worried about that rushing quarterback taking away from the running back. But in my opinion, it opens up more running lanes because those linebackers have to pause, right? They have to pause for that half second to see if Jalen Hurts kept the ball or if Justin Fields kept the ball. And better yet, Justin Fields is a worse passer than Jalen Hurts. So they're going to run the ball even more. And so it actually plays quite well, I think, for Breece Hall. So I'm excited about that. Okay, let's move on to player number two.
Yes.
Who was Bucky Irving.
Bucky Irving, Texas gas station Irving.
I promise I didn't set this up. But
I think the game's rigged. You forgot you already got Breece Hall, so it landed there a second time.
I tell you.
And then landed on the guy of the team of the jersey you're wearing. So,
what do you think about Bucky, Kyle?
I love Bucky. And to be honest with you, I was a big Rachaad White guy because he was such a good receiver. I thought he was underestimated. I was touting him all, not this last offseason, the one before, and then he finished top 5. And I was like, see? But he's not a great rusher. His yards per carry are horrible. He's just a really, really good receiver. This year, Bucky comes in, solid runner. Had a little bit of a slow start because he didn't really start getting more work right out of the gate, right? It was Rachaad White, and then it started bleeding over. And then, like the last, I don't know, what was it, quarter of the season or so, he was just the guy. Bucky was the guy. And then we found out what he could do as a receiver, and it was all over. I mean, this kid's a stud. Him and Breece actually had the same number of touchdowns this year. Breece had 3 receiving. Bucky didn't have any receiving touchdowns. I think that could go up next year.
And Bucky was still actually splitting time pretty well with Rachaad White. Rachaad White was still getting some pretty good work, but you mentioned it. It's the receiving work that was surprising. We thought Bucky, okay, he's going to come in, run. Rachaad White's still going to be the third down receiving back, but Bucky took on the receiving also. Like, it was just kind of mind-boggling, of just how involved in that passing game Bucky ended up being and how valuable he ended up being there.
Yeah, I feel like I should clarify. Like, White was still involved.
Yeah.
But Bucky was getting workhorse carry numbers. Like, he was getting workhorse touches, and then White was, sprinkled in. But, yeah, White was still involved. You're right.
Yeah. So, Bucky, obviously a big part of an offense that's pretty efficient and in scoring situations pretty often. And I love that for a running back. You want to be down in that red zone and be in those scoring opportunities. And Tampa Bay's there. Of course, they've got the best quarterback in the league, so you can't really argue with that, right? So they're always going to be in scoring opportunities there, and I love that for that team. Now, do you think it hurts Bucky when they have their entire wide receiving core, with Godwin and Mike Evans going to be back healthy and everything? Do you think that hurts that workload that he was getting?
I really don't think so. That offense runs very efficiently. It runs pretty quick. They run a lot of plays. But, when Evans was back, yeah, Godwin was out, but McMillan stepped in and was playing really, really well. Otton stepped up. They still had 2 to 3 solid receivers all the time, and Bucky was still getting his work, And a team like Tampa Bay, if you're nursing some leads, which they were some this year, you're running the ball, running that clock, So,
yeah, it's just promising that in his rookie year he did so well. That's fantastic. So looking forward to see him how that continues. That offense, keeping that core together, all those players together. They're used to playing with each other. That's going to be dangerous. I think Baker Mayfield woke up
feeling dangerous. For sure.
All righty, let's take a vote then on who each of us would prefer to have in redraft this year. We'll hold up a number 1 for Breece Hall and a number 2 for Bucky Irving. All right, you ready, Kyle?
Yes. Redraft?
A redraft on the first one. Yep. Ready? Yep. 1, 2, 3, show. Okay, awesome. So we're both with Breece Hall on this one, both showing a number 1. Why is that?
I just think he's a better player overall. He's more of that generational talent type of player versus, a guy that came in and fit in a system real well. I think Bucky would have been pretty good anywhere. He really fits in with this system and with this team really well. But I don't know. I just feel like the pedigree with Breece Hall is so much stronger. We've seen him do it even after coming back from a pretty gnarly injury. Like, if he can do what he did last year with Aaron Rodgers and, the year before, I don't even remember who was playing QB for the Jets. But
no one does. No one does, Cut.
I really like what Fields brings to that team to allow Breece to eat next year. I love it.
I'm with you on that. We watched Justin Fields perform with the Steelers this past season, and those running backs were doing just fine because it does open up those lanes. I think this is I never thought I would say Justin Fields is an upgrade over Aaron Rodgers at quarterback for an offense, but here we are, right?
Aaron Rodgers that old though, like
yeah, exactly. Coming also back off of a pretty gnarly injury, right? So Aaron Rodgers isn't the same. I like Breece Hall here. I think he shares less workload, so I feel like he gets a lot more of the workload, a lot less to share there, and we have a few more years to go off of. Bucky just 1 year to go off of. Makes me just more comfortable leaning on Breece and relying on him more. So that's why
Well,
I'm on that.
you make a good point with that workload. There's no Rashad White with the Jets. Braylon Allen, Isaiah Davis, they're both pretty good, but they're not eating into Breece's work,
Right.
So,
Exactly.
yeah.
All right, let's do a vote on Dynasty then. We'll do the same thing. A 1 for Breece, a 2 for Bucky. Ready? 1, 2, 3, and vote. Okay.
Still Breece
Yep.
Hall.
Still both of us with Breece Hall. And kind of going into what I was saying, age isn't really a big deal. Bucky is 22. Breece Hall is 23. Yes, Breece Hall had that pretty bad injury that you mentioned, but he came back from it just fine. And this dude is just an absolute beast. And, Bucky, we've still just got 1 year to go off of. And he's sharing those carries. So almost the exact same kind of reasoning that I had for the redraft is kind of playing into this here. Now, the only thing that Bucky, for me, has going for him over Breece is the knowledge of the quarterback stability. I feel like there's more quarterback stability, overall team stability with these contracts that are getting signed and everything. Breece Hall, Justin Fields going to be his quarterback next year? I don't know. But honestly, it doesn't matter. We saw what he did with trash quarterbacks. He's still just such a big part of that team, and he's just a beast.
If Justin Fields can win with last year's Steelers, he could win with these Jets. Honestly, I believe that. And, when you look at Breece is only a year older than Bucky, but he's got 3 years under his belt, and we've seen the consistency. And I don't think he's played a whole season yet because he got hurt year 1, came back late year 2, and now year 3 he looked pretty good in a pretty piss poor offense.
Yeah,
considering what Aaron Rodgers was able to do. And I'm really excited to see what Breece Hall does in this offense this year and going forward.
I agree. 2025 should be a fun ride for Breece Hall.
Oh, yes, very.
All right, guys, that's going to do it for this version of Would You Rather. Join us next week for wide receivers again.
See you next time.